screen in right side. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Ravindra.
Okay.
We are able to see and hear.
Shall I start the class?
Yes, please. We cannot wait for any more people. Class will be started 9 means 9.
Okay, sure.
So please start it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Let me open the chat window. Okay, at side. Today is day 2. So we will be learning today Appium introduction, benefits of Appium, setting up for Android prerequisites, and then emulator. I'm going to use Genymotion for the emulator, and then locating element strategies, how we can locate the element and how can we perform the actions. So firstly we need to learn how can we locate elements. So using locating elements we will understand what is ADB and what is UIAutomator here, and these are ADB and UIAutomator here are the parts of Android SDK, and I'll let you know how it will work and everything by practical implementation. So we can start with Appium introduction. So what is mobile test automation? Basically when we are automating our mobile applications there are some challenges like when we are automating the same application on different mobile devices can have customized UI. Sometimes Android has customized UI, sometimes screen size is different. Some phone is using 5-inch screen, some phone is using 6-inch screen. So it's kind of when you are using the element locator, the element can be visible sometimes it's not visible. So that kind of issues you might face when we are switching one screen size to another. And then app can be hosted in the sandbox environment, so very limited inter-process communication. That means when you are using two applications, like suppose if I'm talking about settings of Android and another application which is mine, so these two applications might be having very limited process communication. So that could be the issue, so we need to handle that using some other processes. There are some alternatives, so we will learn in the class as well. And uh, then the problem is with the network. So sometimes people using 4G network, sometimes 2G, sometimes 3G. So the same application that you are going to automate, the page might be taking some time to load. Sometimes your page is when you're, so suppose if I'm searching the result on the Google, I'm going to put the search text and then press the search button. So it might load the result page within a second if the bandwidth is good. The bandwidth is low, if suppose you are using 3G network, so it might taking 5 to 7 seconds. So that kind of challenges we must accommodate when we are running our automation. When we are actually developing our automation code, we need to accommodate that changes also. Then the point is usability aspect of mobile and complexity in terms of navigation. So different kinds of mobiles has different navigations. So if I'm talking about like normal application of the same Android, UI can be different, navigation can be different for the same application. So we need to accommodate that changes also. Please mute your microphone, everyone. So this is basic architecture of Appium. First of all, I want to tell you what is Appium. I'm directly navigate you to all in appium.io site, that is official site, because this is the best practice to learn anything, because the documents can be updated time by time. So you need to learn the things by official sites. When I am using Appium.io site, it is basically a JS foundation project. So here you can see Appium is an open source SaaS automation framework for use with native, hybrid, and mobile web apps. It drives iOS, Android, and Windows apps using the WebDriver protocol. So here is the pros, the main pros of using Appium. Why everyone is using Appium in the industry right now? Because it drives iOS, Android, Windows, both. I mean, three of the applications it can drive. Suppose your application is very much similar, everything is similar. There might be the locator will be different, but the flow will be same. So your test cases will be same, but the locator might be different. So what you can do, you can create separate packages. You all know about the Java because this is a prerequisite of class. So you know the packages. So you can create separate packages for the locators. One is for iOS locators, one is for Android locators, and one is for Windows locators. So the same page can have different locators for different devices. So we can create different packages and then create a single test script for the application. Suppose I am going to create a login test script. For the login test case, the locator will be different for different devices, but the script will be same. Test script will be same because the flow will be same. So we can use the same test script for different devices. So that device we can just identify at the runtime. It is Windows device or it is Android device or it is iOS device. So based on that, we can run our automation. So that kind of basically the you can see the pros of using Appium. So this is like I mean most of the benefit. That's why currently everyone is using in the industry right now. iOS, Android, and Windows apps. It can automate very easily. So here it's showing the just normal introducing the Appium. Right side the mobile and left side is the script. So when you are executing the script, it is automating. It's typing something. So it's showing that Appium can do the automation of mobile application. Here right side the requirements for iOS, Mac, and for Android, Mac OS or Windows. So you can clearly see that for iOS automation you have to use Mac OS. Otherwise it won't work. And for Android you can use Mac OS, Windows or Linux. So if you want to automate both of the application at the same environment, so you can use a Mac machine. So it's an easy setup process to run a test now, like brew install. It is for installation. If you don't have this brew or npm in your system, you can directly download Appium as well. I'll show you how you can download. Here from here, you can click on download. It will navigate you to in the GitHub page. This is DMG. Let me check the chat window. Okay, so this is DMG. DMG for Mac application, Mac iOS, Mac OS. This is the zip file. If you don't want to download the executable file because DMG is executable on the Mac, and then exe file. This is for Windows, and these are the source codes. So you can install it either by this link or this link on the Mac OS or Windows OS. This is the latest one. When you're going to install it, I'll show you how it will look like. This will look like this one, Appium. This is the new Appium version. This is the old Appium version. So you must use the latest one. I'll show you the difference between new and previous Appium version also. But we will use the latest one because latest one have the capability of using the latest devices. When you are working on the previous one, it might have the old versions like Android 6 or 7, but might not have the latest Android 8 version. Or similarly for the iOS. So we have to use the latest version. So this is a common structure of Appium. Firstly, we need to write the WebDriver script. WebDriver script. What is WebDriver script? We are going to launch Eclipse. As I've already told you, you have to install the Eclipse to write your automation code. So for WebDriver script, we will use the Java. We will write the code in Java, like perform some action on the element. Firstly, need to find the element, then we perform the action on the element. So that kind of script we need to write in the WebDriver. That is called WebDriver script. That is written inside the Eclipse. Then when you are going to execute this script, so it will send the request to Appium server. So what is Appium server? Appium server is the same that we have downloaded using Appium app. That the app that we have installed using appium.io site, that is the Appium server basically. So when we are run that server, if you're not running that server, the script will fail. It says there is no IP address found for the server. So you have to start the server to execute your test case. So once you start the Appium server, WebDriver script will the command will go to Appium server. So Appium server will understand what kind of command it is, on which element it wants you wants to perform the action. So it will send it to Appium server. So then Appium server understand the request, understand which device you want to send it, then it will redirect that request to our device. So you can understand when you're executing WebDriver script, it directly not going to mobile device, it going bypassing through Appium server. So here is the benefit of Appium server. Previously I can tell you why the Selenium guys was not able to execute the mobile automation, because you can see the Appium also using the Selenium libraries at the backend. When I will go into the detail and in the implementation, so you guys will learn how it will using the Selenium jars. It is using the Selenium jars, but why, if it is using the Selenium jars, why Selenium guys was not able to perform the mobile automation? That's the question. So because Selenium guys was executing this thing directly on the device. The guys use creating a driver. So simply when we are using the Selenium driver for Firefox driver, for the Chrome, for we have the Chrome driver. So just created a Android driver. So the same driver the guys are using to execute the script on the mobile. So that so in that case the script was very slow. I've used that when it was started. I think it was started before 4 years ago. So I was used that Android driver that developed by the Selenium guys. So that driver was very slow. It took almost 2 to 3 minutes to run the script on the uh, just launch the application on the device. Then after getting the response to the server, I mean the to the Eclipse, it then executes the next command. So it's basically very slow to execute a single kind of statement on the mobile application. That's why Selenium guys was not able to perform mobile automation. Then Appium guys get some kind of idea if why we should not use the server. So server can handle every kind of to and fro request, so that a server has some capability. So we have to use the server. So they have introduced the Appium server, and then when we write the script, and that command will basically navigate to Appium server, and then Appium server was able to perform the execution on the mobile device. So that solution basically very fast. So that's why in nowadays industry using the Appium solution. This is just general about for the Appium. Appium is an open source, so you don't have to pay any kind of money to use it, and supported by Source Labs. What is Source Labs? I wanted to tell you what is Source Labs. Suppose you don't have the real device, or sometimes your device can be switched off, or your device has some issues, or sometimes you don't want to use your own device. So what is Source Lab is used? Source Lab providing you the cloud devices. So you can have the license by paying some money. You can have the license for Source Labs. You can have the username password, and that guy is providing the cloud devices. So you can see the devices that you have added in your cloud account, and then you can run your script on the Source Labs as well. So you don't have to worry about the devices. like your devices are not running or your devices have some issues, so you can directly use cloud testing. Rahat is saying source lab is free. Source lab is free for the personal use. For business use, it is not free. Santur is saying, will you be sharing this document with us? Which document are you asking for? Santur, you are asking which document?
Hi. Yeah, the one you showed just a few moments ago.
Okay, so you want
So
me
I think the
you want me to share that
presentation.
presentation? Yeah, sure. I'll do that. I've also did the same for the previous class. I'll share all kind of materials, everything with you.
Yeah, this is the one I'm talking. Yes.
Sure, sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the first point is we can use for the native and hybrid mobile application. So what is native and hybrid mobile application? Native apps basically, I can just tell you the normal difference. So when we are automating that, what kind of difference we can face, I'll tell you in the real implementation. But as of now, I can tell you just the difference between what is native and hybrid apps. Someone is asking, I did not receive last class one. So Rahat, you can just send your email ID to Madhu, and Madhu will be able to send your class notes and everything. Okay. So Appium, I was telling you the native and hybrid mobile apps. Native one is firstly, I want to tell you the web application. Web application is using the Chrome browser as a native browser. Suppose if you are developing the Google Chrome, sorry, Google, you can say the Google search engine inside your Chrome browser. Just open the Chrome browser inside your mobile application, and then you can Google search on it. But the same thing I want to do in the application, the simple application like Facebook application, Facebook mobile application, or any kind of mobile application. So you want to do it inside the mobile application. The same kind of behavior that has inside the Google Chrome, I want to do that in the application. So what you can do, you can create a native app. Native app means it is using the native, you can say native buttons or native things which has a Android UI. Then you can merge that with that web application inside it. So it's a combination of native plus web application. Then it will be as a hybrid mobile application. If you want to do it just for native application, just to create login button, just to create sign in button, so that will be a simple native application. But you want to add the web application functionality inside your native application, that will be called as a hybrid mobile application. And the second point is it uses the JSON wire protocol. What is that JSON wire protocol? When we are seeing this WebDriver script, when you are executing WebDriver script, it's sending it request to the Appium server. So WebDriver script, you can write it in different languages. In Java, Ruby, Python, you can write in different languages. But the server will remain same. So how server will understand that what kind of action you want to perform on which element? Because this script will telling this server by the JSON format. If you want to know what is JSON format, you can just Google it. What is JSON format? JSON format, I can tell you in a simple language. JSON format has a key and value pairs. For every key, we have the value. Suppose if I'm telling you about the key is like command. So you are telling command is click. So we have value is click and the key is command. If I'm telling what is locator, so locator is ID and the locator value is the that we have find using UIAutomator viewer or ADB. I will tell you how we can find, and that kind of key and value pairs basically directly sent to the server. So server will understand. It doesn't matter if you are using Java or Python. It doesn't matter. A server has a JSON file when we are executing our code. Then JSON file server can understand and then navigate the request to the mobile device. And then yeah, so fourth point that I was telling you, test code can be written in any framework or language like Ruby on Rails, C Sharp or Java without having to modify the apps for automation purpose. So we can use any of the language, but here we are going to use Java. So the last point is can they use the same code developed for one platform. That means we can use the same code for Android as well as for the iOS. As I was telling you that we can create different packages for locators. Like for Android, we can create one package, and for iOS, we can create another package, and for Windows, we can create the third package. So we can separate the packages to for the locator only, but for the test script, we have the one test script. So we can load that package at the runtime. So guys, what is new in Appium? New in Appium is UIAutomator and the XUI test. If I talk about the previous version of Android basically a 4.4. Before 4.4, we were using Cylindroid, that is Cylindroid driver. Cylindroid to automate the Android 4.4 minus version. I mean, the before 4.4, all previous version is using Cylindroid. Now, after 4.4, we are using UIAutomator. Basically, these are to automate the web applications. These are the native frameworks which are provided by the Android guys. And XUI test is provided by the Apple for the iOS automation. These are basically framework which is working on the native devices. Similarly, that we are using a Selenium WebDriver for the native libraries of browsers. If I want to automate some web application using Chrome driver, so Chrome driver using the native functionality of Chrome browser. So that was the functionality of Selenium WebDriver. The similar way, Appium guy is using the native framework to automate the application. So if I talk about the Android, Appium guy is using the UIAutomator, that is the native automation tool for the Android. And for the XUI test, for the iOS, there is XUI test, that is native framework. XUI test basically are the part of Xcode, and UIAutomator is part of Android SDK. So I can tell you where you can find the UIAutomator and XUI test. Yeah. So Javanti is asking, do we need to install these? Yes. So in Appium prerequisite, before going further, we can use Appium prerequisites. This one. This one is general prerequisites for Appium, and for Mac, these are the general things to set up things. These are the Appium things, general prerequisite for Appium. So firstly, you need to install Android SDK. So we guys can learn from where we can download it. I can write a note. From where you can download it. You can go to Android site. So this is for Android SDK. So when you install it, it is download the Android Studio. When you are going to open the Android Studio, it will ask to download Android SDK. So when you can download the Android SDK as well. Once you install it, I'll tell you what's the location. This is Android Studio. Once you open this one, it will ask to download Android SDK. There you can press OK. So you can the Android SDK will be installed. You can open terminal. Here when I press ls, it says library. You can see library, no, because library is hidden. But I can navigate to, or I can do ah. Yeah, so we can use ls minus ah. ls minus ah, it will also show you the hidden files as well. So here we have the library. I can move to the library, then Android, then SDK. When I press ls, you can see it has Android SDK, build tools, extras, licenses, platform tools, sources, emulators, fonts. If I want to see this folder in my Finder, or in your, if I talk about the Windows, you can check this one as a directory. So how you can check? In the here I can use open dot to launch the Finder, the same folder. So now I have the SDK in the UI. When I navigate to tools, it has some bin folder. In bin I have UIAutomator VR. This is the one that we can use to locate the element. When I open it, you can see this is the UI. This is the UIAutomator VR to locate the element. When I press this screenshot button, device screenshot button, so it will get the UI of the application, current UI, and with the UML hierarchy. I'll tell you how it will work. So we will navigate one by one. So first is Android SDK. SDK manager I have told you, that is Android SDK. After that we need to set up the path. This is Android SDK path. You can create a new Android SDK, Android home till the SDK, and add an Android home platform tool and Android home tools in path variable. We need to set up two variables here. One is platform tools and tools. For Windows and for Mac, you can use export. Export, this is a command you can use in the terminal. In terminal, basically. You can use this command in terminal. If you guys facing any issues to add these paths, so you can contact me. I'll guide you. Okay, Rahat is asking how can we download Appium. Yeah, I'll guide you with that also. We are doing it, this one is one by one. First Android SDK, then the JDK, Eclipse, and then Appium Jar and a WebDriver, Appium for Windows. Everything we will do one by one. So you guys will not face any kind of issues. Still you have faced any issue, you will just directly contact me or Madhu. I'll guide you with that. Sure. Thanks. Then the journey motion. So what is Genymotion? Genymotion is basically emulator. So, someone might ask that why we are using an emulator if we already have the Android SDK. Someone is asking you typing on these in iOS Notepad. Yeah, this is basically my personal Notepad. So I'll copy these in the doc and then forward it all to you. Sure. So sometimes people can ask that why we are using Genymotion. As we have Android AVD, that is Android inbuilt tool for creating a new emulator. The reason is that the inbuilt tool for the Android emulator is basically very slow. When you're going to run your Android emulator to launch Android emulator in your machine, it will take around 5 to 7 minutes to just launch. So that's why we have an alternative, that is Genymotion. So we have alternate. So, but guys, please remember this is for personal use only. For business use, we must purchase it. So for personal use, you can use it for free. Just sign up with your email ID, and for sign in, you can use that. Sita Lakshmi is asking that what is the use of emulator? Yeah, I'll tell you one by one. Once we install everything, so we have installed Genymotion. Once you install, you will see this is the Genymotion. This one. I can open it. So when you open it as a fresh, there is no virtual device here. So what you can do, you can use add here and then search your Android device with the version and then device model which is available here. There are lots of versions fonts are available, so you can download it. This is just a virtual device. So someone is asking, I'm using Mac machine to install it. The same procedure you can follow on the Windows. Everything is same. But I'm preferring the Mac machine because we can automate iOS device as well using Mac machine. Otherwise, we have to rely on the Windows for the Android only. So if you want to do it for the Windows machine, for Windows Android, you can use Windows machine as well. There is no issues for your practice. You can use Windows machine. Every setup is same. So if there is any difference, I've already mentioned here. You can see on Windows this one, on Mac this one. Everything I have mentioned here. A configuration, extra configuration basically on Mac. When you are using this PPT, you can directly configure your machine. This is very in simple language, plain English. So once we download it, when you press, suppose you when you are clicking on it and then you press next, the device will be added here. So when I start it, so you can see my Google Nexus 5 is started. It's not mine Google Nexus. It is just a virtual device. It's not a real device, guys. Please try to understand what's the difference between real device and the virtual device. In the real device, you can use Google APIs, Android APIs. But in here, this is virtual device. This is using my device capability, my Mac device capability. If you're running it on the Windows, it will use the Windows capability. So you can see this one is Wi-Fi here in my Google Nexus. So this Wi-Fi is using the pairing with this Wi-Fi, my machine's Wi-Fi. This is not any kind of network I am using. This kind of network is just accommodated with this Mac Wi-Fi. So this is not a real device, it's a virtual device. Someone is asking what is AVD. AVD is Android virtual device. Okay. So maybe I can introduce ADB commands as well here, because I have already opened the emulator. This is my terminal. So terminal is all filled up. So I can use clear command. It is clear all the commands. And for Windows machine, you can use CLS to clear the command prompt. You can use the command prompt in Windows machine. This is terminal for Mac machine. So when I press ADB, it shows me some commands which ADB can use. All the commands which ADB in the help menu, everything it is showing. When I type Android, so when I type ADB, sorry. But sometimes when you are using ADB in your system, it might say ADB not found, ADB command not recognized. So why it may happen? Because you have not configured your Android home. There is Android home. I told you this one, Android SDK, and set Android home platform tool, Android home tools. So where is Android? Oh, sorry, ADB. It is in platform tools. This is Android SDK path. This is ADB here. So this should be added in the environment tool. Sorry, your platform environment. Otherwise, this command will not be recognized. So now I can use ADB devices. This is the command to find the devices which is attached with my machine. The Android device which is attached to my machine, it will be fine. So when I use ADB devices, it says one device. List of devices attached, one device. So it looks like IP address with the port number. Why? Because this is my emulator. If you are using any real device, this would be a unique string that is called UUID. Unique UUID is universal unique identifier for your device. It could not be changed. So another thing that JDK is just a Java, so you can install it. So I have to write Android home. So you can set up Android home. So guys, please remember, don't install JDK 9. But it has some issues. You might be facing UIAutomator will not work in your system. So for UIAutomator viewer and everything is working, it is tested only JDK 8. I was trying to update it 9, but we are facing some issues. So uh, I don't want you to install it. I want to install JDK 9. So it's JDK 8. So you can find JDK here. JDK 9. I have to search JDK 8. This is JDK8. We can install it from here. Someone is asking whether emulator and ABD are same. Yes, both are same. Emulator and Android virtual device both are same. For Selenium there is no issue, but when you are finding the element using UIAutomator viewer, UIAutomator viewer I told you that we are going to use it to find the element on Android device. So there will be an issue with JDK9 when you are launching the UIAutomator viewer, it crashed. So we were not able to use JDK9. So that's why I'm saying that I'm preferring the JDK8 for the setup. For Genymotion, you can download it on Windows or Mac OS both. You can use any OS because it is for the Android platform. So Android platform we can use any of the machine. And Eclipse with TestNG. So for Eclipse, I'm preferring the Oxygen one. Eclipse. And once you download the Eclipse and launch it, so you might not found the TestNG option in your Eclipse. So what you can do, you can use help and Eclipse marketplace. Here we can search TestNG. So second option, TestNG for Eclipse. You have to install it. Otherwise, you won't be see TestNG option in your Eclipse. When you're going to run TestNG code in your Eclipse, you won't see the TestNG. You might see only the Java application option for execution purpose. So you have to install it. It says installed, already installed. I can write it down here also. Then Appium Jars. So this will be a part of our setup in Eclipse. So I'll tell you when we are going to implement it. and this is also part of that project. And this is Appium for Windows. So Appium for Windows or Mac, we directly go to appium.io. Someone was asking how can we download Appium. So I was telling you this is Appium IO site. This is appium.io. GitHub. I can copy it. Install Appium. So you can guys install Appium from here. And Node.js is a part of Appium as well, so we don't need to download it separately. This is the Android SDK path. I've already told you that you need to set up. Otherwise, the EDB and UIAutomator viewer you cannot find it. This is for Mac machine. Once you download Appium, this is for Xcode. Like when you install the Appium here in the Mac machine, then you use Xcode. This is Xcode. So this Xcode should have iOS simulator. I can open it, simulator. When you type search simulator, it is by default in the Mac in the Xcode, or you have to install it. Xcode. Once you install the Xcode, you can search simulator here. Simulator is part of Xcode. So this is a simulator for iOS. So we can automate the iOS application using the simulator. We can quit it from here. Quit simulator. Now Xcode basically is to develop application for iOS for iPhones, or for iPads. We can develop. This is developer tool basically, but this has inbuilt capability for simulator. Similar to Genymotion, Genymotion has the emulator, and Xcode has a simulator, iOS simulator. But Xcode is bigger than Genymotion. Genymotion can have only the Android emulator, but Xcode is the iOS simulator is part of Xcode, but Xcode is a very big concept. So I want to tell you that everything that you are going to do on the Apple machine, on Mac machine, you are going to do by Xcode. I mean, for the testing automation purpose, everything we are going to do for the Apple device, we have to use Xcode. Okay, so this is minimum version Xcode 4.5 or higher version for iPhone simulator SDK. So someone is asking, do we need Mac machine to test all three, Android, iOS? Yes, you have to use Mac machine to automate all the applications, because iOS can only be automated through Mac machine. You can't automate it by with Windows machine. So this is all for the Appium. Now we can move to another topic. So this is the prerequisites that we have installed. How can we test if we do not have Mac? No, Rahat, there is no option to test iOS application. If you want to test iOS application, you have to use Mac machine. Windows machine for Android device. Yes, for Android mobiles you can use Windows machine. Yes, but only for the iOS dependency. For iOS devices like iPhone, iPad, If you want to automate that, you have to use Mac machine. Otherwise, there is no dependency. Perfecto lab, I think I didn't use, but if they are providing the capability of iOS, you can check that. If you can add iOS device in your account, then you can use. The topic is locating element strategy and ADB. So firstly, we will understand what is ADB and how can we use it, and then I'll move to finding the element. And then for the day third, we will use Appium app, desktop app. Basically, these are the two apps, previous version and the latest version. So we'll use that to implement the code. I will write a sample code for Appium for the Android, and we'll use Java as a programming language, and I'll perform some sample actions on sample application actions like click and send keys as well on day three. But to use that code, we have to use we have to locate the element first. So to locate the element, we need to understand UIAutomator viewer and ADB. So now we can start ADB and then UIAutomator viewer for this class. Someone is asking, with Windows machine we don't need Xcode, only emulator is needed. For Windows machine we cannot install Xcode actually. If you are trying to install Xcode, it will not work because Xcode is only supported by the Apple device. For the Mac machine, Windows machine you can't use Xcode. So you guys can set up your machine before coming to next class, because I'm going to automate a sample application, a sample code, and I'll let you know step by step how it will work. So you must first set up your machine before coming to the next class. I already written the setup things, prerequisites. I'll share this one after the class. So I was using ADB. So first the question is come, what is ADB? Guys, give me a minute. I need charger. Need to plug in. Thank you guys for waiting. So I was telling you about the ADB. So ADB basically a Android debug bridge. What is Android debug bridge? If you want to connect Android device to your machine, your PC machine or Mac machine, so you cannot directly control your Android device. To control your Android device, you have to use something. There is some utility. Similarly, if you want to interact with the Windows machine, there is a command prompt. So in a command prompt, you can use some basic commands like dir, cls. So command prompt is able to understand that commands. Similarly, for the Mac, there is a terminal. In terminal is able to understand few basic commands. So using that basic commands, we can control Mac machine. Similarly, if I want to control Android device is basically built on Linux. Linux is a kernel. When anyone is developing the Android, is using the kernel on the Linux. So Android is also a utility, using some utility to execute the command. So that utility is basically ADB. So if I want to control this one from my machine, I will use ADB. So control means I can control this machine, this Android machine. This is a virtual device, but it has a device. So I can use this terminal to control this machine. So how can we control this? I'll tell you. Suppose I'm using ADB reboot. So why it's not working? Because this is a emulator and it's taking time. So I just use ADB reboot. So what it is doing, you can see in the background, it is rebooting my Android device. So you can see, guys, I'm just controlling my device using terminal. Similar command will work for the command prompt. If you are using Windows machine, similar command will work. There is no change because ADB is the part of Android SDK. It's not a part of your machine. It's a part of Android SDK. Once you set up your Android SDK on home, this ADB will work. So you can see my device is rebooted. And now, if I want to in the real time, I'm using my application to automate it. I'm just automate the application, or I'm doing it manually. Sometimes application is just crashed due to some bug or some issues, because sometimes exceptions or errors are not handled properly in the application, so application can be crashed. So at that time, my developer can ask, please give me the logs, please give me the real time logs, that at the time that you are facing the issue. So you might be confused what kind of log you are asking. I don't have the server. I don't have server access, so I can't give you the logs. But developer is asking for the Android logs. Android logs means when you are doing something on the Android device, there is a log. Logs will be basically logged in your Android device. So you can fetch that logs in your machine as well. So suppose I'm going to perform some action. I want to log it. So I can use logcat for the logs. When I run it, you can see lots of logs are running, and I can show you one by one. There is no logs currently running. When I open it, you can see some logs are running. When I open contacts, you can see at the left side something is going on. When I stopped, there is nothing. When I press back, press back. But this file is not useful, because this will be lost somehow. If you are not able to share it right now, this will be lost. So what we can do, we can write this in file. sorry, Control Z. Yeah. So we can use Control Z to quit. So EDB locate, then pipe. Then I can use, this is my location SDK. So I can move to my desktop. This is my desktop location. Now I can use EDB locate pipe, then any file name. Suppose I am using out.log file. Enter. So now it's logging all the logs which is running inside my Android. Sorry, this is not this one. When I suppose I am opening this message application from home page. This message is opened. So there is something which is running in the background. I can press plus. I can again press back and then back. So there are messages I opened and close it. So now I can is still logging in all the values in the output for output.log. I can use Control Z to stop it. In Windows you might use Control C to quit. Now I can see the log file. Where is log file? You can see log file is generated here in out.log. I can open this one. Sorry. I want to open it in. You can download Notepad++ for better readability. Notepad++ in Windows and Sublime Text for Mac machine. I'll use Sublime Text. This is Sublime Text. Javanti is asking where or file or log file is automatically stored. Log file is not automatically stored anywhere. When you are using the CD, suppose you are on the root path, or you directly going in the EDB locate and then pipe and file name, so it will be stored on the root folder. So you should be aware which folder you are using. So suppose you don't know which folder it is, so you can use pwd here. Pwd means present working directory. When I use pwd, it will show you the present working directory path, the absolute path. So you can directly find it where your file is located. And for Windows machine, you can use dir for the current directory. So I just open the out.log file. This log file is looking. Lots of things are going here. You can see, or I can show you the last one. You can see just I've just opened message application. Click on plus, then back and then back. Only 4 steps I've done, and it stores 4135 lines of text. You can see the 4135 lines of text here. Javanti is asking, should we run it all time? No, I'm just showing you that how can we get the logs manually. When we are going to automate it, we can directly run this command at every point of time. I mean, the just beginning of the your test script, and after running the test script, when your test script is completed, then we can quit the command, so that we can handle it programmatically. Okay, so there are lots of logs because when you are running on Android device, it is storing the battery percentage, is storing the network percentage, it is storing the application status, it's using Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and everything status is running in the background. So that's why it stores 4154 lines within a minute. So that's why it's using the lots of logs. But when I search it for my message application, So I'm searching for com.android.messaging app. Why I'm searching for messaging app? So there will be a package name. So when you are running your application, when you are launching your application, there will be a package name and start activity name. Package name to identify the unique application on your device, and the start activity is to find the launch activity, the first home activity that is going to be launched when you are just clicking on the application, because there are lots of flow inside the application. The home activity should be loaded. So we need to identify two things. One is package name and another thing is start activity. So you can directly share these logs with your developer, so developer can identify which logs is relative to the current scenario. So now I'll tell you another thing using ADB. There are lots of things you can control it using ADB. If you want to know what is ADB, you can use ADB help. You can find the ADB uses here. Global options, general commands, devices, help, version, start server, kill server, deconnect. Lots of things you can guys understand and practice it one by one. I'll just tell you the important commands which is going to be used in the automation. So now I want to tell you to open basically settings. Suppose I am going inside my Genymotion device. So settings, I want to open it. I want to do something here. So I have already told you that to open application, we have package name and the start activity. Same concept we will follow in Appium. So I am doing it manually, so you guys can understand later on that how Appium is working. So I'm using settings. I'm clicking on it as a user, and it opens the setting application. But this is controlled at the background by the ADB commands. When I click on it, it runs some ADB command at the back end and launch the application. So same thing we can do via the terminal. So there is a ADB shell. Shell is basically a kernel of Android device that is on the Linux. I can use AM to start the activity. Start activity means launch the application. There is a -a, so you can guys understand what does it mean. Then I need to provide the intent. I want to just launch the application or I want to navigate to some other flows. Here I just want to open normal application just to launch the home page, home screen of the my settings device. So this is guys, this is intent. We need to fire it to open settings. After main, if I talk about, we need to give there is package name with the start activity. So how can we give that? We can use -sh to give the package name, which is the package name for Android. This is the package name for this setting application. Then we have to give in the start activity. When we launch the activity, when we launch, suppose this setting application, I want to launch Wi-Fi.
Hello, wait. Hello, Praveen.
Yeah.
Can you please maximize the screen? Can you please maximize the screen? I can't see.
Which screen you want to maximize?
Move it. The terminal one.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Or what I can do, I can just increase this text so you guys can see better way. Few commands you need to memorize, like this Wi-Fi open command you don't need to memorize, but EDB devices and EDB logcat you need to memorize it. So this will be helpful in the real environment. Okay. So this is I'm just launching the Wi-Fi settings. These basically package name and activity name. You can find it out when we are working on the application. This can be shared by the developer, or you can find it using Appium. I'll tell you how you can find it. So I'm going to launch this command, and it will open the Wi-Fi setting. So you can see when I launch it, it says starting intent. Action is finding main, and CMP is this package and this Wi-Fi setting. I can also close this application, so you can again understand how it will work. When I launch it, it will open Wi-Fi automatically. So when user is doing the things, that ADB command will automatically run at the background. So we are doing it by terminal or the command prompt. So we need to write that command. So it will launch the application in the same manner. Okay, so do you have any question for this one for ADB? So that's why we can move to UIAutomator viewer. Okay, so someone is asking one more time. I mean, this is the command basically. You just need to launch this command using ADB. ADB is Android debug bridge. So you can execute the command using ADB. ADB is basically a debug bridge for the Android devices only. So if you want to control the Android device, you can use ADB commands. So if you want to learn the same command, so you can just rerun my video. I'll share this video after the class, and you can practice that later on. No issues in that. So someone is asking, automation script will do this work. Yes, automation script will do this work, because we are not going to do anything manually. I'm just explaining you how it will going in the background, how it will work, so you can understand later on, later point. Because you guys can ask me that how it is working, how it is going to be executed command, how this command can be executed on the Android device, how your system is controlling the Android device. So that's why I'm telling you, I'm explaining you each and everything step by step. But these all things will be executed programmatically at the later point. Okay, Sita Lakshmi is asking, can you tell the commands to be used in Windows? So this command, ADB command, basically work in your Windows command prompt as well. Because ADB is part of Android SDK. It's not part of any Mac machine or Windows machine. It is part of Android SDK. Once you set up Android SDK, you can be able to use ADB. The ADB is part of Android SDK, so you can use the same commands in your command prompt as well. Okay, guys. So we can move to UIAutomator viewer. So this was my Android SDK path, and I need to move tools and then bin, and this is UIAutomator viewer. So you guys can copy paste this one in your desktop. In Windows, there is a similar way, a very simple way. Right click on it, go to send, and then you can create a desktop shortcut. So it is directly go to the desktop shortcut. But in Mac machine, you need to create an alias. Right click on it and make alias. When you make alias, you can cut it down from here and paste it inside the desktop here, like I did that. Because this is useful to find the element. So we are going to use it at every point of time when we are going to automate our Android application. So the better way to paste this UIAutomator here as a shortcut on my desktop. On your desktop, it is better way. When I launch it, it opens this hierarchy. So firstly, I want to tell you what is UIAutomator viewer. This is a part of Android SDK. So guys, which is working for the Android, they want to do the unit testing. So if I talk about Android application, when the Android was when the Android guys are working to create Android SDK, so they guys create a sample applications, normal sample applications, and try to test that application. So those they guys cannot test it manually every time. So they have to automate that. So they guys was using Android SDK. There is a tool called UIAutomator where they have used that tool to automate the normal sample basic applications. So that is a part of native Android SDK. So that's why Appium using the same concept to automate the applications. So we are also using the same. So this is your automator here to locate the element. This is your automator we are also using the ADB commands in the background, because this is going to be controlled. This is going to control the Android device as well. So suppose this is my current UI page on the Android. You can see the current UI page on the Android device, and at the left side, this is UIAutomator viewer. I want to take the screenshot of this page. I can click on this one, device screenshot, and it's taking UI, UML, and screenshot as well. So now you guys can see the current screen is just captured by this tool with the UML hierarchy. When I hover my mouse on it, you can see the hierarchy at the right side. So now I can tell you what is that. So this is locator finding strategy using UIAutomator viewer. So the last time I clicked on message icon, message application. So when I press, I hover the mouse here and press click here. So now I'm able to see the detail of this node. Here at the right side, I am able to see the details. So you guys already have learned the Selenium. So you can understand the attributes: index 3, text messaging, source ID is blank, class is android.widget.textView, and package is com.android.launcher3, and content description is also messaging. So we have to use some unique identifier, some unique property of this node to identify the message icon. If we are able to do that, then we can launch this message application using this icon. Otherwise, if something is common to other one, like if I go to this one, suppose go to this one, and class is Android widget text view, and here I'm going to message, class is Android widget text view. So both are same. So if I'm using this attribute to locate the element, both will be located. So nothing will work. So this is not a good way to identify the element. So we have to rely on some unique attribute of that icon to perform the actions. Actions are like send keys. To in the similar way, send keys we have worked on Selenium. Send keys to give the input, and click function to click on the element. So same function, same actions we are going to use it, but we have to identify locators first. So in the Selenium, we can launch the application in the browser, and then what we can do, we can use inspect element to find the element. But here there is no way to directly using some firebug or firepath. There is no way. Here we have to use UIAutomator viewer for Android. So now if we are using text, suppose text is messaging. So messaging text is looking common to, unique to this screen. If I talk about this screen, messaging text is unique property for this messaging icon. So I can use this property to launch this application. Okay guys, so this we can use to launch the application. Now give me a minute. Yeah guys, I'm back. Okay, so I was telling you about the UI Automator viewer. So we can find this icon with the unique identifier. If I talk about some application, suppose we have some application. Suppose this is some application with some icons. So if I want to find this search sites icon, so similar way, I'm going to use this UI Automator hierarchy and click on device screenshot button. You can see we can capture the complete UI hierarchy with the UML at the right side. I want to click on this search icon, so I need to press it here. Here at the right side you can see class name and the package, and nothing is common, right? Nothing is common here. So how can we identify this icon? So same way that we have identified the icon in the Selenium browser. The browser that we have automated using Selenium, we have rely on XPaths. So here we can also create XPaths in the same way that we have done with the Selenium. But there is a little difference. So I'll tell you when we are creating the XPaths. So if and nothing is common, nothing is unique for the elements, we have to rely on XPaths. So do you guys have any questions for UIAutomator viewer? Otherwise I can start with the finding element strategies. Yeah, that XPath I am going to tell you how you can create. You have to create the XPaths. But do you have guys have any questions in UIAutomator viewer? Okay. One thing I also wanted to know that sometimes the element is secured. If I talk about applications of banking applications, so there is a virtual keyboard. So guys, if you want to automate a virtual keyboard, so you cannot identify the unique element. So because that keyboard is basically an image, so you cannot identify the element. So in that purpose, you have to rely on coordinates. You can use coordinates to click on the element. So how can you check the coordinates? Coordinates, you can see the right one here. In my mouse cursor, you can see this is the coordinates. When I hovering mouse here at the left side screen, you can see the coordinates are changing. Suppose I want to click on the search site icon. My coordinates are 312, 865. So I can use that coordinates to click on the element. But that is basically a not preferable way. But you have to use it when the application is secured, because that coordinates can be changed, can be varied screen to screen. When your screen size is changed, your coordinates might be varied. So that's why you are not this is not a preferable way to identify the elements. But for the secure application, we have to do that because there is no element, there is an image, complete image. So now we can go to that finding element slide. So ways are UIAutomator we are used to capture the screen on Windows platform for Android, for Windows and Mac both. UIAutomator viewer is placed in ADB tools folder, as I've already told you. Sometimes in ADB tools, sometimes in ADB bin. Appium inspector is used to capture screen on Mac system for okay. So this is for basically I have to use for iOS application. As of now we are using only Android, so we can use UIAutomator viewer for Android, for Mac or for Windows machine as well. So these are the ways to find the locators, to find the element. So guys, you can see the ID. The same way we can find it on the browser. So for the Selenium ways, ID name, class name, accessibility ID. This is new. Accessibility ID basically a text name which is shown in the node. When I open the node, guys can see the text. Any text. This one. Start screen. This is the text. So this is the accessibility ID for the element. Then comes for the accessibility ID, and then your Android UI Automator. Android UI Automator is also a native tool to perform the actions on the element. Then XPath. This is not very common. But XPath is very common. ID or XPath is very common, very vast uses. Then CSS selector, link text, and parser link test. These three can be useful if your application having the web context. And I've told you about the native application, hybrid application, and the web application. So if your application having the web context, so in that case only you can use CSS selector, link text, parser link text. If your application doesn't have the web context, only have the native context, so you cannot use these three to perform the actions. To find the element, you cannot use this. So someone might ask that how can we know that my application has a web context or not? So I'll tell you in the implementation. So there is a way to find when we are running, when we are automating our application, there is a get context function. So using the driver.get context, we can get the all context in our application. So it will tell you that your application have native context or web context. So your in that driver.get context function will tell you that thing. So I'm just using the sample application. This is calculator. Same way that I have worked on the UI Automator viewer, I clicked on device screenshot. It took the device screenshot as well as a UML hierarchy at the right side. So if I talk about button 5, there is a resource ID. So ID is preferable way to locate the element. So how can we find the element using driver? So this driver basically, how can we create a driver? I will tell you when I navigate to implementation. I will tell you about the driver. But once I get the driver, I can use driver to find element by.id, and then ID is the same that we have located here.
So if we have a XPath and ID both, so which one we need to consider first? Is it ID?
Yeah, we have to consider the ID because ID is unique attribute for the element.
Okay.
Then we can navigate to second approach. Second approach is name. Name means text. If we are trying to find plus using the text, we can use name. So if I use driver find by name plus this is text, we are able to find the element using that locator. But this is not a common way. Common way to find the element by ID or XPath. This is a class name. Class name you can see android.widget.button. We can use android.widget.button dot click. But this is the wrong way. Why? Because all other elements are sharing the same class name. As I've told you earlier, com.text or text view, both are using the same class name. So we should not use that thing to look at the element, but we can use list. We can find the elements which sharing the common ID, common class name, and we get the list. And using that list, we can click on that element. Suppose there are 16 elements. The last one is plus, which sharing the same class name. So we can get the cat 16, and then we can click. We can perform the click action over the element. So this is the right way. If we have to use class name. So again, this is very tendersome way to find the element. So I'm not preferring this way of using the class name. I'm preferring the ID or XPath. So this is accessibility. Accessibility, I was telling you about the text, but sorry guys, that is not text. That is content description basically. So content description and text is different. So you guys must not have the confused. Don't have confusion for this. Someone is asking something. XPath we choose only if the unique ID is not present. Yes, we should choose only if the unique ID is not present. Otherwise, XPath is not preferable. ID is preferable than XPath. Someone is asking that can you show me the XPath for example? Yes, I'm going to show the XPath. How can we create the XPath as well? Okay, so and then using content description, this is the content description plus. So if I want to use content description to locate the element, then I can use accessibility ID. Dive find element by accessibility ID, and then I can use the content description. So this slide I'll share with you all. So you can try with your system that thing, or you can try at your system, so you can understand how this will work. So this is XPath. So XPath using class name and text. Suppose there is no resource ID. So how can we create the XPaths? We have to rely on more than one attribute, because one unique attribute is not feasible for if the ID is not there. So we can rely on attributes. Suppose text is 5 and the class is button. So I'm finding the button which has the text 5. So you guys can see android.widget.button, and then in the big brackets we have @text equals to 5. So the same way in the Selenium we are finding the element using double slash and then the node name, and in the braces we have attribute name equals to attribute value. The same way we can create the XPath for Android device, for Android application. So this is my class name, and this is a node attribute. You can see this one. This is the class name, and this is the node attribute text and 5. You can create the XPath using contains. Suppose your class, your resource ID containing digit 5. Sometimes resource ID is not unique. If I talk about like same kind of elements, same kind of dynamic elements, the changing the resource ID. Suppose digit 5 underscore some hash value. Sometimes this could happen with your application. There your resource ID is common, but there is some unique identifier which is added with the ID. That is hash map, like hash value. So you cannot identify the source ID, your locator with the source ID. What you can do, you can use contains. Contains is JS5. You can use that the same way that we have used in the Selenium. You can club other attributes as well using and here. This is the Appium inspector. Appium inspector basically can use for Android application and for iOS application as well. This can be used for both applications, but this will only be worked in a better way in Mac machine. Otherwise, you are facing some issues in the Windows machine, but it would be worked in a better way in your Mac machine. So if you are just automating the Android, so you can use UIAutomator here. I'm not preferring this way because this is like cumbersome for using this one, this Appium inspector. But this is a preferred way to automate the Android application using UIAutomator here. If I talk about the XPath for this application, suppose I'm going to find this search sites. There is no resource ID. This is blank. So how can we click on this? How can we locate this element basically? How can we locate this? We can locate this using XPaths. So I'm going to create XPaths. The first thing we have to use to create XPath is a class. So double slash, then the class name. Class name, and then here I can see the text. Text is unique for this search sites. So I can use braces @ text equals to string search sites. So suppose if this XPath is the text is not proper, sometimes it may contain some hyphens or some apostrophe. So if you want to use only the substring of that text, so you can use contains. For to use contains, we have to use contains first. This is a function in the XPath. Then you have to use comma. Here at the left side, the attribute, on the right side, value. Attribute is text, and the right side is value. Suppose I want to use only search. This is the way to create XPath using contains. Suppose I want to go to complete hierarchy. Suppose there is no text or nothing, only the elements. So I'm not able to identify with this text attribute. So what I can do, I can use some groups. So you can see the view groups. So I can see view group, third view group is having all the elements. So it is index 3. This is unique for this view group. So I can create the XPath using this view group. I'm using android.view.view group, and @ index equals to 3. So this identifies the view group. Then I have to go inside this view group. So this is the first one, second one, third, and fourth. I want to search the first one. So I can directly jump into view group, which is inside this index. So I can use single slash to absolute path, and double slash to relative path. If it is directly inside the element, so I can use single slash. If we are going inside the for the child elements, it could be the second depth or third depth. So I have to use double slash. But it is a direct related to the parent element, so we can use single slash. And here I can use index equals to 0. but this will not gonna click on this element, search sites elements, because this is complete element. The focus should be on the search icon or the search sites text. Then I go to inside, again the view, and then image view. Suppose I am skipping this view group, I directly jump into the image view. So to directly jump inside element, I have to use double slash. Android widget dot image view. So this will identify the image view of search sites. So even if I want to make sure, even if I want to make sure that this would work or not, I can use some other combination as well. Some other combination means, suppose I am using any value like enabled equals to true. So I can use this one, because enabled equals to true for the clickable elements, and the enabled equals to true. I can use multiple combination as well. Again the attribute, if I am using some bounds as well, bounds, I can use this one as well. @bounds equals to 255 813. So I can use this one. So this is the combination of two attributes of the same node. You can use this way also, but you have to create a unique XPath for the element. If we are able to identify unique element, then it will work. Otherwise it will work, I mean it will click on the first element. Suppose if you are created the XPath and this XPath is not unique, this XPath, when you are searching the XPath, for searching the element with this XPath, it might says two elements with the same XPath. If you are searching the XPath using this XPath, you are searching the element, it might say two elements are there. So it will click on first element always. It is not going to complaining about the XPath. It is not going to throw exceptions or errors that the unique element is not able to find the unique element using this XPath. It will automatically fetch the first element and click on that. Sometimes you have two search buttons on the screen. You want to click on the second one, but when you are using the ID or some the common things that both buttons are sharing, so you are going to identify find element and then XPath or some ID and click on that element. So sometimes, not sometimes, all the times, first first button is going to be clicked. It not going to say, not going to complaining about the exceptions, that is not going to throw the exception that the elements are not unique, your locator strategy is not unique. It automatically click on first element. So remember guys, we have to identify that kind of issues at prior, otherwise we have to fix our script. Okay guys, I think I'm done for this class. We can check keynotes as well. This is benefits, prerequisites, emulator, locating strategies, ADB and automator view. Yeah, I have completed all these topics. Next time, next Saturday, we will meet for Appium app. I'll tell you the Appium app. This app, this is loading. This one, I'll tell you how we can work using this Appium app. And the previous approach was the another Appium app. This one. So I will tell you why I'm not using this one. Why I'm using the latest one, and what's the uses of it. I'll tell you all these things. And then we will write the sample code for Appium Android using Java. So I will write the code from very scratch. So guys, don't miss the class. I'll write the code from very scratch, like just creating a driver, performing the action, finding the element, and then performing the action on the element and getting the result and verifying the result. All the things we will do in the next class. I'll tell you the design capabilities for Android to create a driver and then actions. So these things I will cover in next class. So guys, please don't miss the next class. It is going to be very useful for you to understand the Appium app. So Nishan is asking, when is our Cucumber class? I think Nishan, you have missed the class. Yesterday I have completed the Cucumber class. So you can contact to Madhu, and Madhu will tell you. Madhu will tell you the Cucumber class notes and the material and the recording video also will provide you. Guys, do you have any questions? So, or we can wrap up for today. No. So today we learned basically a prerequisites for Appium. Before using Appium, there are prerequisites. So in next class, we are going to learn Appium app and writing a sample code using Java. Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, sure. I'll send the installation guide, PPTs, and also the recording video. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.